You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
All right, we are back after another, incredibly cold and snowy week.
It's cold out?
This isn't as cold as it was like the last 2 days, but we're still like negative in the negatives.
It's single digits for sure.
We're up. We're out of the negative.
We are out of the negatives,
We're up to 4.
Oh, we're at 4? Oh, hold the presses.
I don't notice because I wear my hood lamp everywhere. So it's like
I wear my hood lamp everywhere either. And I'm wearing a T-shirt, and then I have my hood lamp coat, and that's actually warm enough. So, I mean, that's my endorsement for our friends Adam and Cece. Adam, of course, does his radio show every Wednesday.
CD Wednesdays, right, or something like that?
CD Wednesdays. What time? No,
It's the Adam Dunn Show.
It's the Adam Dunn Show.
It's the Adam Dunn Show. There's a lot of drama over that.
What time is the Adam Dunn
Wednesdays.
Show? From 11:30 to 1:30. Check out and listen to Adam Dunn every Wednesday, 11:30 to 1:30.
I bet Adam's a character.
Adam is a character. Well, you don't have to bet Adam's a character. We know Adam is a character. And we love Adam. He's one of the legends of the cannabis industry, be it hemp or marijuana. So definitely tune into him on
I'm on a panel with
Radio.
him next Wednesday.
Are you?
At the clinic. They're doing a panel on hemp.
Which clinic?
I think the one on
On Mexico Ave? Yeah, that one.
I'll know in a minute.
Okay. Well, we have a guest in the studio. Who's our guest tonight, Miss Samantha?
Oh, the illustrious and wonderful Corky Kyle, who is a fellow lobbyist at the Capitol. He's had a few marijuana clients. I believe he worked with some edibles companies, some MIPS, infused products. Corky's he's a freedom fighter. I like Corky. He's one of my favorite lobbyists at the Capitol.
Welcome to the show, Corky.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back on.
Yeah, we were talking before the show that you are a radio guy,
yes.
And so we're gonna have to see what we can do about maybe getting a little Corky show going on here.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Oh, we definitely need to have the Corky show.
The Corky show.
That has a nice ring to it.
The Corky show.
The other show the title of my other show is The Lobbying Pro.
The Lobbying Pro.
And that's why we went and talked about the whole issue was to get people involved, regardless of what your issues were,
right.
To be politically, legislatively, and regulatorily active. Because if you're not, you lose it.
Corky's an activist.
I know, and you've been a lobbyist for 34 years.
34 years, yes. Don't tell
Okay.
many people that.
So I have a question. So you got into lobbying, and I know we want to go over news, but the question popped in.
I think lobbying is a huge area of discussion. I think it comes up a lot in our industry.
It does
activism versus lobbying and what, the kind of different.
Well, the more
tactics.
the more business minded this industry gets, I think the more lobbyists are going to need to come on board and join up.
That would be really great if that would happen. Right. Although there seems to be a corner on the market at this particular time.
As he looks at Samantha.
No, I don't. No. She's my bud.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm talking about our other colleagues that we have that are involved.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. Like a couple of them who also rep big alcohol and they're repping big marijuana at the same time. We're trying a couple of people. And
that seems diametrically opposed.
Well, that's another story for another show.
So what was your impetus to become a lobbyist? Was there an issue that kind of got you started, or you just got excited about government?
No, the short story is I have always been involved in associations. I've been managing associations for close to 37 years. And one of those functions that associations do is to represent their industry before state and local government. And that's what I've done and enjoy it. It really is a great feeling when you can open somebody's eyes so that they can see that they really truly can have an effect on how government affects the quality of their life and the health of their business. And that's what we're talking about. Everybody sitting around here, Samantha's heard me say this 48 times. She's going to go to sleep here soon. But it's true. It doesn't matter what you do. Everything from the moment you wake up till you lay your head down on your pillow, government is in your life.
True.
And if you're not involved, then you get what you get.
Now, you focused on just Colorado all 34 years.
It has been all Colorado and state, although I've done some federal things for some other large groups. But my passion is the state stuff.
Now, is that because you feel like you can get more effective change on a local level?
That and the fact that all politics is local. And the people that you grow in the legislature are the ones that end up going to Washington. And if you establish the relationships early enough, then you have a long-standing relationship that you can use for the political career of that particular friend that you've been working with for years.
It's all about relationship building. That's the funny thing. I know there's a certain, what do you want to call it, cynicism when people look at, lobbying and politics and not that any of that's unjustified. There's definitely, I think, probably some corrupt bedfellows, especially on a federal level. But most of this is just relationship building. A lot of legislators look to, lobbyists as just information resources.
We're an information source. And with the passage of 41, and real quick, 40 is the one that really put the bubble around legislators for anybody to try to influence them just through normal daily activities. And
that
so
was
it
the
really,
Jared Polis Amendment.
Yeah. And we'll save that for another show for another day because I'm not big on that one. But the fact is just like Samantha said, is we literally are information resources. Now, I've been around for 34 years. I have legislators that come to me and say, have we done this before? Mm. If we did do it before, why didn't it get by? Or why didn't it get passed? I've had people come and talk to me saying, I'm thinking about getting involved. What do you think? And, it's really as a result of that particular amendment and placing that bubble around the legislators, all the institutional knowledge of what has happened over the years is in our heads. And so we do have that one tool that no one else has to go ahead and make it easier for more people to participate. And the whole deal is to get more people to participate. I don't care what side of the issue you're on. Mm-hmm. We want participation because full discussion, dialogue, debate, fighting, whatever you want to call it, allows for a better decision when it's all said and done.
Now, do you feel that lobbyists have kind of gotten a bad rap in the past couple decades?
Lobbyists have had a bad rap since they started. And you've heard this story because the word lobbyist came from people going to the Willard Hotel in D.C. and meeting with Grant. Mm-hmm. And he's the one who coined the phrase. Mm-hmm. And I've got to share this with you. If you haven't seen Lincoln yet, the movie Lincoln, there is a segment in there on the 3 lobbyists that Lincoln used to pass the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, I love that part.
Isn't that great? Yeah. Those guys, that's so cool. It's just unbelievable. So we've been around for a long time.
They used a little bit rougher tactics.
They didn't have 41. They didn't have 41, so but it's a great deal. But we are very instrumental in a free society, in a democratic society, because we know the process, we know the rules, we know the format by which to create the public policy that people go after, whatever the group is that you represent. And, we help people get involved. There are circumstances where a citizen advocate can go up there and introduce a bill and get it passed, but I can count that on both hands, maybe, the number of times that's been successful. And it's just like anything else. Would you operate on yourself if you're not a doctor? I don't think so.
No.
Would you do your teeth? Yeah, I might because I really don't like dentists.
That's right.
But the point I'm trying to make is you need professionals to help you reach your goals.
What would you say is the ugly side of lobbying? Like part of the bad rap of lobbyists. There's some warranted in like big tobacco lobbyists, kind of like in the fact of how many lobbyists there are per senator on the federal level. I mean, would you agree with that stigma that's kind of been created more on the federal level than the local level? Because I think you're right. I mean, you make way more change. Everything happens on local level, but some huge federal policies are happening. In Washington on a regular basis because of lobbyists pushing issues.
The thing that I think that you have to distinguish, we do have a bad connotation because we're all bundled up into this thing about doing it. And really what we do, as Samantha said earlier, is we provide information. And it's not us. Under a free society, anybody can go ahead and have a relationship with the people they elect. and they can talk about any issue they want. They can try to get public policy that they want. And that's because we're an open society. So, yeah, it's easy to go ahead and point to the lobbyists, but we really are facilitators, navigators. That's the new buzzword now, you know that.
Oh, really? Navigators.
Navigators.
Like the National Lobbying Association, I don't know the exact name of it. But
American League of Lobbyists.
Yeah, they wanted to change the word lobbyist to government relations or something.
I know. I just,
'Cause
come
they
on.
hated the word lobbyist. Yeah.
Let's call a zebra a zebra.
Let's
I don't know. I call myself a public affairs consultant.
Well, that's same thing. Same thing. But I'm proud of the word lobbyist.
Yeah.
I'm proud of what I do. I also use a lot of times advocate. Although those are two very distinct, different approaches to affecting public policy.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. I remember, it became quite, the hot potato a little bit last year because you have like citizen activists and we had advocates and then we had lobbyists. And, I remember once getting like very annoyed when someone called me an activist. And not that that's a bad thing, but I was like, well, no, like, I'm an activist in certain areas, but like when I was in the Capitol wearing like, a suit and I'm here as a lobbyist, I'm registered as a lobbyist, acknowledge just because it's an issue that that they felt was hippie. I don't want to say hippy dippy, but it was the hemp issue. And the person who made the comment was the deputy attorney general. He's like, oh, I know how you activists are. I was like, oh.
Yeah. See, they don't even know.
Yeah. And like,
even the ones up close and personal don't get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, do you feel like sometimes they're annoyed that you're just even there in their way? Or do you, I mean, like you said,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Because we really do keep it open. Mm-hmm. And we let the sun shine on what is going on.
Yeah, they don't like that.
And
we're like journalists. And, Colorado has what they call a sunshine law.
Yeah.
Which is, if there's ever more than I think 2 or 3 public officials in a room, it's open to the public, so anyone can walk in. Mm-hmm. That's why when they caucus, which is when all the Senate Dems or Senate Republicans or House Dems or House Republicans get together, they don't tell anyone where they're meeting because anyone can walk in on there and sit and listen. They cannot kick you out. Legally, they can't kick you out.
But they legally don't have to make public knowledge where they're meeting?
Well, it's usually on a spur of the moment there. They'll call it, we're going to go caucus on this particular issue. They'll go down to their rooms and the Senate will go to their rooms. But it's all open. Colorado didn't used to be that way. Mm-hmm. Back in the 70s is when the sunshine law was put into effect, but up until that time, they could pocket legislation and it would never see the light of day. And you've heard this term before, pocket veto. Mm-hmm. And so there was, it's evolved. This profession has evolved. And
Colorado's considered, I think, nationally one of the everyone I talk to, in political circles, everyone says Colorado's just squeaky clean.
Yeah, that's true.
We are people can complain all they want about like corrupt lobbyists, especially in our industry. You hear it a lot from certain people. But Colorado's actually very squeaky clean. Mm-hmm. We have reporting requirements. There's the sunshine law, like what Corky was talking about, and Amendment 41, which keeps you pretty honest, and there's not a lot of corruption. We have limits on how much you can donate. We have very small limits.
Very small
compared
limits.
to a lot of other people, a lot of other states, and so we're actually a pretty squeaky clean state, which is nice.
So the regulation's working.
Yeah, regulation works.
Well, it depends on which perspective you take.
I was waiting for that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Corky's just upset because he can't take more politicians to the strip club.
I never took a politician to a strip club.
No, they've taken you.
No. See what I mean? That's a very good example of the stereotype that we've got.
All right.
No, but I mean, first of all, they're human beings. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but I'm a businessman. And the only thing we get done is by going and talking to people and eyeballing them, okay? Right. And so what is the harm? Trust me on this one. What is the harm to go to Churchill's and have a scotch and a cigar and talk about why you're running this piece of legislation?
I don't think there's any harm in that. I agree. I think the harm is when you start seeing like, hey, we just bought you tickets to the Super Bowl.
Trust me, if they get their vote bought by that, they won't be in there very, very long.
Oh, no, I agree. But you just hear all these stories and instances of senators, more on the federal level, I would say. I don't, like you said, Colorado.
Well, Abramoff was the biggest one. I mean, he took the Indians to the cleaners big time, and he should have gone to jail.
Yeah.
It's totally dishonest, and the whole way he did it. But that was on the federal level, and there's a certain set of rules and everything. I mean, I've been doing this for 34 years. Do you think if I did something that would cause a mark on my reputation or my integrity, that I'd be doing this for 34 years? Mm-hmm. People may not like the way I am, my style, and I do have people that just really have. Cringe when they recognize that I'm on an issue.
Oh, I love your style. Corky has his picture on his business card. This is why you're my favorite.
So anyway, but the fact still remains. It's it's very, very important for citizens to be involved, and I don't care how you do it, through your association, through your business, through your personal contribution to their PAC, to getting on the phone and calling for them, going to their home, their town meetings, driving people to the voting polls. I don't care what you do, as long as you get involved.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have to go on a break.
We do have to take a break.
Do we have to break time?
We do have to take a break.
Okay.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Then we can talk topical stuff.
Topical stuff?
Topical.
Like you mean what's going on in the top, a good topic, current topic, not topicals like I'm rubbing them on my skin.
No.
But, okay.
Unless you want to talk about that.
No,
a little external, a little bit of Apothecana.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of Apothecana. We'll be back in just a moment.
Wow, you stumbled on that.
I did stumble on that.
Extraction Tech Solutions. Not only is it safe, but it offers one of the only ETL certified essential oil extraction systems on the market. Our equipment meets or exceeds all of the North American safety standards. Customer relationships are important to us, so after the sale, it doesn't stop for us. We are reliable and therefore when our customer needs us. We offer pre- and post-sales training, method development, services, and repairs. Extraction Tech, safe and reliable because it matters. Contact us at www.extractiontech.com. or 720-515-9254.
National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
All right, we are back.
We're back.
And we're going to talk about some topical issues. We're here with Corky Kyle. Very
from the Kyle group, right?
From the Kyle group. From the Kyle group, yes.
Well, I would say one of the most seasoned lobbyists.
Oh, there's a couple more that are a little ahead of me, but not by much.
Okay.
You know what I found out the other day? It was kind of interesting. I know we're going to talk about topical stuff. This is back to lobbying a little bit. I was talking to one of my partners, Joe, about it, and there's a lot of legacy lobbying. Like that's a you wouldn't think it's a legacy industry, but there are parents who pass this on to their kids, and I have a feeling it's because their kids can't do anything else. I've seen. I'm not
gonna touch that particular part with
I'm kidding.
10-foot pole, but there are. Ruben Valdez has got his granddaughter in it.
Yeah.
And Bill Artis has got his daughter there.
Ackerberg. Mickey's got her son just started.
Oh, is that Mickey's son?
Yeah, Tyler. Yeah, that's her son.
The big tall guy?
Yeah.
Is that her son?
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
I think so. And then
that's cool.
someone else was there. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, there's kids everywhere.
Well, I had my son work with me for one session because he was unemployed, and he said, "All right, you're working for me." So I taught him something, and it doesn't hurt with the experience having to go meet people and hang yourself out there, right out there, and so everybody can see you.
I just never. I mean, you always hear about legacy industries, and I didn't really ever think about lobbying being one of them. But it's kind of nice.
Well, if they put any more rules and stuff on this industry, you just may see it disappear.
Really, you think?
I do.
Because why? Does it look bad?
no, you won't be able to do anything.
Oh, that's I know.
Well, what kind of rules are they talking about putting on right now?
Well, they're not. Well, there's nothing right now. I'm just talking like we've got term limits. We got Amendment 41. We've got the bubble that is totally around these legislators to prevent any type of real social interaction. I think it's done a lot of things for making it more combative between constituents and elected officials.
The funny thing is, people they always think term limits because they always want to get corrupt legislators out of office or inept legislators out of office. And I don't think people realize what the impact of term limits are, and it actually forces the legislature to rely on lobbyists because there's no institutional knowledge anymore. You have somebody who's been there for, decades and decades. Like they understand procedure. They understand institutional procedure. They understand why 10 years ago a certain bill didn't work. But if you have term limits where somebody's only allowed to serve 4 years, that's it.
So you think there's a lot more wasted energy because of term limits?
I think that term limits is the easy man's way to vote. And I think it's totally up to the constituents of the district, of the person that they elect, to make that decision, how long they stay and when they go. Well, they don't need the law to say, okay, you're out of here in 4 years or 8 years, depending on if you get your terms all reelected.
Right. Now, one could say the same thing about not having a term limit is it's an easy way to vote. Like, say you have the same person that, you voted for in your area every time. People might just just carte blanche. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you mean the Doug Lamborn?
Yeah. I always vote for this guy.
But, I think I'd go with that rather than saying you only get 4 terms.
Mm-hmm.
But those are why we have primaries, too. I mean,
yeah, every time the House is up for every 2 years.
Yeah,
but don't you think? Part of it is maybe it's a lowest common denominator thing. But when it comes to politics on the local level, while I think all of us are in agreement that you absolutely get way more change done on a local level than you could ever get on a federal level, or local will spur federal on. Marijuana is a perfect example of that.
Excellent.
But I think that most people, even in Colorado, don't pay nearly as much attention to their local politicians than they do to national.
That I could see where you could make that argument, absolutely, and because of the coverage, media coverage, and everything, and they're so visible.
Sure.
Although with the use of social media and everything today, I don't know about you, Sam, but I set it all up so that any out of the 100 legislators, if they do anything, then I get an alert. And literally, I can know exactly what all those people are doing at a moment's notice. So,
if only more people had those alerts on their phones.
Well, if they would make the effort to be involved, and that's a difficult thing because people don't like politics. Mm-hmm. It can be very adversarial. It's very combative at times, but that's the nature of the game. And but it's unfortunate because, like I said earlier, it controls everything you do.
Yeah, it does.
See, I love politics. I went out the other night for one of the press happy hours, and I ran into a couple of adversaries, that we worked against, a little marijuana bill last year, and one of them, the deputy AG, and another smart Colorado lobbyist, and outside the building, I actually have a really nice. I'm like, we buy you some drinks and da 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 da, and they were very shocked. I'm like, what? Really? I was like, yeah, just because we disagree on
but
one
Samantha,
issue.
That's rare. See, you're one of the exceptions. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Even when I get beat, I'll go up to the person and say, nice job. You had the right strategy. Good work. Mm-hmm.
But too often there's an us against them kind of attitude when it comes to politics.
Big time.
And it's like, oh, I'm not supposed to like you, so I'm not going to even take the time to learn about it.
Well, and that shouldn't be that way because that was the way it was. Before 41 and everything, there used to be the third house. Mm-hmm. And the third house used to meet across the street from the Capitol at the New House Hotel. And every Wednesday, anybody who joined the club, the third house, they would serve lunch. They had a big steamship around, nice food and everything, and you could bring as many legislators as you want with you. And it was an opportunity for everybody to get together and talk. Mm-hmm. And the rule of thumb, there's only one rule, is that what was said in that room stays in the room. And everybody abided by it. Mm. Didn't kill public policy. Matter of fact, it made better public policy. And just to be able to be alone together and breaking bread and stuff is beneficial. We even had the press in there, and they were obligated under the same thing. And again, it gave an opportunity for the communication, and communication is everything in this particular game. And so, the more you limit the ability of people to communicate and interact and feel good about it, why should I do it?
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
So what we got topical?
Yes, topical.
Oh,
we went sideways.
Hey, no, it's okay.
No, I think that's an important issue. People need to learn.
There was a reason why I wrote down it,
insider
because my
knowledge.
iPad freezes on me.
Uh-oh.
The one I want to talk about, because I love talking about the DEA.
Oh,
and,
this one.
and
I'm
hypocrisy.
a little weak in that area.
That's
just want you to know.
That's okay. Just pipe in on this. But, it just came out. There was a report in January, on January 13th. I think it was initially by Business Insider, and then Huffington Post redid it. But basically it's saying that the DEA has been discovered to be working with a Mexican cartel. In fact, the Sinaloa cartel, which is a very big cartel. I don't know who's number one.
Cocaine pushers.
I don't know who the Bill Gates of Mexican cartels is.
Is that their major product?
Cocaine.
Cocaine is a major product. They do deal with marijuana, of course, but marijuana for them is not as lucrative as it used to be, thanks to the ending of Prohibition, or the easing into the ending of Prohibition for
moving
for
toward
a lot
the
of states.
tipping point.
Exactly. But the story came out because there was a trial in Chicago of Jesus Vicente Zambada Niebla. He is the son of the Sinaloa leader, or the leader of the Sinaloa Mexican cartel, Ismael El Mayo Zambada. And what it said was in 2012. This is in 2012, so it's taken 2 years to get to us. Big surprise there. But he alleged that while in detention in Chicago, that the U.S. government had struck a deal with Mexico's Sinaloa cartel to finance and arm the drug traffickers in exchange for information on other cartels. So I just find this amazing, because at the same time we have the deputy director of the DEA getting blasted yesterday on the fact that marijuana is still being a focus of theirs.
Who is that? Cohen up there,
yeah,
grilling people. Yeah,
Cohen from Tennessee, who's awesome. I love him. He's been like lockstep with Jared Polis for pushing the end of prohibition on hemp and marijuana. Big fan of him. We're actually going to try to get a 20-ish questions segment with him in the magazine.
Yeah.
He's been blasting the deputy director of the DEA, basically saying, "What the hell are you doing? Heroin is out there, and you're basically saying that that marijuana is just as dangerous as heroin because it's still on a Schedule 1." He's like, "Why are you spending any time on this when we have people?" And they brought up Philip Seymour Hoffman, of course. Mm-hmm. This is somebody who's dying and who was killed by this. He was like, if we could, I think the quote was...
Well, there was also, I think, 22 deaths in Pennsylvania from tainted heroin because they were putting fentanyl in it.
Yes.
And fentanyl is like 100 times more potent than morphine.
Yes.
Again, this is part of an this is what happens when things are bought and purchased on the black market. There's no oversight and regulation. And
it is.
Isn't it nice to be able to purchase your cannabis now from a safely regulated
Well, yeah, because,
source?
About 5-10 years ago, I remember seeing stories in Texas, I think especially, where they were actually dosing cannabis with formaldehyde.
Ugh.
Yeah,
I've heard about someone locally doing that, but I'm not going to name names.
Okay. Well, you can tell me later.
I'll tell you
later.
Ooh, expose.
Yeah, exactly.
Expose.
The point behind the story is, look, the DEA is obviously, I think everybody who's probably listening to this is in agreement that the DEA is a really screwed up organization that has way too much power and way too much free reign to almost like implement their own policies of how they go after cartels. And the fact that they're working with a drug cartel and helping them bring their drugs into our country.
Well, the DEA is unscrupulous. They were actually, this is right back to sort of what we were talking about. They got in trouble because when the Hemp Amendment, when Jared Polis was pushing the Hemp Amendment, the DEA was actually lobbying against it, and they can't do that. They are not allowed, but they were actually sending out position papers and telling people are going to be using hemp to hide marijuana, and they're actually prohibited. They're not allowed to lobby because they're a branch of government.
They're a branch of government.
Well, that's a federal rule.
Right.
That's a federal rule. Side note real quick, we used to have that rule for state. It's gone now.
Yeah, they have contracted in-house.
They have another. That's another story. I'm giving you stories up the wazoo.
So wait, are you saying the DEA is actually lobbying in Colorado?
No.
He's talking about how state agencies now have in-house lobbyists, and they call them legislative liaisons, and then they also have contract lobbyists.
Really?
Yeah.
But like I said, this is another topic for another show.
No, I know. I'm just writing it down so I don't forget it. I don't forget about it. Okay. That
sorry.
Was that just kind of blew my mind. I had no idea that was even allowable.
But your DEA story right off the bat, and I haven't read it. And I haven't done any research to know truly, but right off the bat, it sounds like a typical bureaucratic idea that had no controls, no oversight, no thought given to it at all, and from the standpoint of reality. And that's unfortunate.
Well, and this guy, Jesus, I guess the son of the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, basically was like surprised when they were meeting with him. And he said he had met with people in the Department of Justice and various avenues. So they didn't necessarily. Some of these articles I've looked at are framing it as the DEA, and some of them are framing it as the U.S. government. So it's
isn't it one and the same?
It's one and the same, in my opinion. But he was surprised that he was being detained because he was like, well, we have a deal.
We have a deal.
We have a deal. You're not supposed to arrest me. So, I just find it fascinating how brazen he was about this deal, too. First of all, it's like, so our deal with the government is that we're going to keep doing our job and keep bringing illegal drugs over here. You're going to give us guns. You're going to give us money. And please, somebody explain to me why a drug cartel in Mexico needs money from the DEA. Don't they already make a ridiculous amount of money just by doing what they do?
Is it like an interest-free loan?
I'm wondering about that.
Maybe we earn money back on that?
Does the DEA get a portion of the investment of the cartel?
Well, do we get a dividend?
Yeah. I want to know. Do we get a dividend? Do
we get stock in this?
We should get profit share from this as citizens of this country because we help pay for the DEA.
They probably do get some kind of profit share, They get to blow up their budget saying it's costing them this much, and That's why. Because it keeps their budget fat. The DEA has the most bloated budget.
It's ridiculous.
Next to OSHA and next to, oh my God.
Well, listen, OSHA, you're speaking to big labor right over here, so.
Well, hey, that's all right. Again, big. We should get rid of OSHA.
Okay, that's another topic. We have like 20 topics now from you, Corky.
We're giving you enough for your shows for the rest of the year.
I know, we're set.
Yeah, you're good.
Well, the budget for the DEA is $1.8 billion. Last I checked.
Is that what it was?
No, I think it's $2.1 billion.
And
then a big more than half of that is dedicated just to cannabis eradication, which they've stopped being transparent about because they realized they got busted several years ago because they were just going out and burning ditchweed.
Yes.
And then calling that cannabis eradication.
And they basically get paid for eradicating it. It's a weird system because they get a budget to eradicate it, and then they get like bonuses for actually doing the job that they got a budget to do. That's amazing to me. So basically, hemp has been like an ATM machine for the DEA for a long time. Which is
why they lobbied against it.
Yes,
because it's going to cut our budget.
Yeah, it's going to cut their budget.
Follow the money, right, Corky? Rule number one.
That's what I always tell my writers: follow the money. Always follow the money.
Well, the interesting thing is that once we hit the tipping point on this with the cannabis and the hemp and everything, and it's no longer illegal, period. Then they're going to ask themselves, oh, my God, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. And first way, the government should then eradicate it.
Yeah,
we don't need it.
Yeah.
And let some other departments, consolidate. We got more.
Yeah, you could put it under
government. FBI.
FBI.
There you go.
The FBI.
Because then it's just criminal activity.
Let's put it under the people that do the check-in for the airports.
TSA?
TSA.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
there'll be plenty of illegal drugs coming in then. Might as well be a revolving door.
I couldn't think of that name.
Yeah. We do have to go on a break. When we get back, I do want to talk about the Farm Bill.
The Farm Bill, and we want to talk about tax revenue.
And tax revenue.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those are the next two things. So that's what we're talking. Farm Bill and tax revenue. And somebody has to hold us to that because we will tangent.
I'll hold us to it.
All right. We'll be right back.
Right on.
This segment was brought to you by The Farm, a medical marijuana care center located at 2801 Iris Street in Boulder. The Farm carries premium, cannabis, edibles, and Hummingbird brand products. Visit our new cannabis lifestyle store for your local artesian glass, vaporizers, and hemp clothing. The Farm has been serving Boulder since 2009. Isn't it time you come and see what we have to offer?
iVita Wellness is committed to compassionate patient care while providing the highest quality medicine at an affordable price. At iVita Wellness, patients can get top shelf ounces for $150 every day. iVita Wellness also carries pharmaceutical grade pure CO2 oil. iVita Wellness is located in Uptown Denver on 1616 Pearl Street, open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can reach us at 303-952-9150 or our website at www.ivitawellness.com. iVita Wellness is Denver's compassionate care center.
Green Faith Ministry is for spiritual guidance, MMJ information, and networking combined with compassionate care on the way to enlightenment with all Green Faith sacraments. Green Faith provides charity assistance, including medical and food throughout the year. Contact them at greenfaithministry.com.
All right. We're back.
We're back.
And let's talk about the Farm Bill.
Let's talk about the Farm Bill.
Yeah.
So that's
Farm Bill.
Farm
It's
Bill.
through. We got our hemp amendment through. It's been the definition's been expanded now to allow for also state agriculture departments to run hemp pilot programs.
So is it
limited to the pilot programs, or it's not a wide open thing just to say?
It's more R&D and hemp. Oh, God. It's more in pilot, but the thing being
So they're dipping their toe in the
I
water.
still feel like Colorado's fine. I mean, we were going to do this. I mean, we were going to proceed forward with our program, regardless of any kind of federal thumbs up or thumbs down. And I was actually just talking to this today about with one of the representatives who felt like ag was kind of freaking out because they're like, now we can't do it, or we're the only ones who can do it. All these people are still. I'm like, they were always going to be subject to any sort of DEA enforcement because what they're doing is illegal on a federal level. But I'm telling you, there's no way. And I could be wrong on this, but I would bet the farm. I would bet the farm.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. That there's no way the DEA is going to come in and raid a hemp farm when there's drugs being manufactured on a prolific level.
No, that's a PR nightmare.
It's a PR nightmare.
That would be like really them putting their own nail in their coffin and basically saying, yeah, we really do suck.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah,
It will not happen.
It won't. Now, I want to talk about more specifically what is good and what's bad about this Farm Bill in regards to hemp. So right now, my understanding of the Farm Bill is there's 10 states that have legalized cannabis. Hemp, I should say.
Is that what the number is up now?
10? Well, 10 that have legalized it. We're the only state
that are
Colorado,
doing something with it.
Well, that actually the caveat for the way these other states did it is we're legalizing hemp as soon as the federal government says it's okay.
Oh, that's
which is kind of a ridiculous. It's really like kind of a BS law because once the federal government says it's okay, it's okay. Right?
That's really interesting. But that's why. That's actually why the definition on the hemp amendment in the Farm Bill got expanded is because Mitch McConnell out of Kentucky, Kentucky kind of fucked up their bill. Excuse me, I cuss.
That's okay.
They kind of screwed up on their bill because they put in that provision, once the federal government deems it okay. And, James Comer's been a huge advocate. And he, once the Cole memo came out, he felt that gave them implicit or tacit approval to go ahead. Because that was the Cole memo.
The first Cole memo or the second Cole memo?
The second Cole memo that said, listen, we're not going to interfere in these states that have regulated this. And so Comer felt like that was enough of a green light for Kentucky to move forward with their hemp program, their hemp growing program. And their attorney general happened to disagree and said, no, it still says in statute that we need permission from the federal government. So Mitch McConnell pushed for that expansion of the definition, which it used to be just research institutions of higher education, which Jared Polis ran because CSU was, basically throwing a tantrum saying, we're not going to do anything on hemp, even though it's, under Amendment 64, because they were worried about their federal funding and grants and things like that. And, Congressman Polis felt differently.
No, he always has.
He always has, and so he, made sure that now it's okay for them. They're still giving pushback on it.
Well, it's going to take a little while. You got to remember who's in control.
I know.
You're going to need a new when the new transition, when the new blood starts to flow in, it'll open up doors.
Yeah.
But it takes a while.
You're talking about on a local level or on
At
a federal
CSU.
level?
At CSU.
governing
I mean, the
boards.
leadership and so on. It's got to change. It's got to be. Sometimes you just have to wait for things to change.
Sure.
And so they expanded the definition. I think that was in the Senate. And
So how did they expand the definition?
just that it used to be just colleges and universities, and now it is state agriculture departments.
Oh,
So they can run pilot programs.
So, but it's still, the Farm Bill is not saying, let's everybody grow hemp, go crazy in the states that have decided to grow hemp. They're still saying, okay, research and development, let's see what we can do with this plant slowly and surely and kind of
in
develop
states
it.
where it's legal. So in states where they've removed the barrier for production, you can now, like if you're a college, you can go ahead with research and development. This will protect you on a federal level if you're, a university, or if you're a state ag. And I'm assuming that the state ag department will allow now for them to run pilot programs. So I don't know how much that will go for commercial development.
Well, and that was going to be my next question,
Right.
or industrial development. Like, is there anything in the Farm Bill to help assist in, refining the hemp into the products that we would like to use it?
I mean, these, and that's part of it is like 90% of this is going to be research and development driven because, we haven't grown hemp in the United States in forever.
Since World War II.
Since World War II. And, what kind of cultivars are going to be growing? What kind of cultivars are going to be necessary for the kinds of plastics you want to develop, or for the fabric you want to develop, or for the, food seed and the oil and all that stuff. And so that's got to come first because people are going to figure out, because, it's such an amazing plant and it's very versatile and you can grow it for specific reasons. You can grow it really tall for fiber. You can grow it short and fat for hemp hurd or whatever you need to do. And so now it's like, well, especially when it comes to the plastics, I think, and the seed oil, because, Ryan Laughlin's seeds were like at least 3 times bigger than the seeds he planted, the ones he produced.
Really?
Yeah. And so,
So
crush
he's
that.
already-
he's already done this.
He's already done
50
it.
acres?
He was sort of in the gray area.
No, I remember that. I mean, I remember you telling me about that. That the guy was growing it, he harvested it. I mean, it was the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
They were putting in the plant. Supposedly, I guess they put the plant in wherever it is, or shipped it to wherever it is to be processed.
Well, they'll probably process on site.
Yeah,
Well,
he has his own seed press.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's the thing, is that's the first implementation on an industrial scale or commercial level, I should say, is just seed, because it's the simplest, is just pressing that seed into oil, turning it into cake, or protein powder, or, and eventually that oil can be utilized for
the
beauty
food
products.
market. I mean, the
food market
is
first and
gonna
foremost, but then also we're talking about beauty products, and that oils can be used for,
which is
cosmetic
huge for
industry.
Colorado. I mean, if there's any industry that will explode in Colorado, it'll be the natural food market.
Absolutely.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the other developments or refining of it that's going to need some assistance.
But it needs R&D, and that's good. We have a little flexibility with THC level, which is good. But, what kind of biofuels are going to be able to produce from that? It's going to be, they're really into it. They're, people are sick of relying on corn all the time. Just not that great of a. I mean, it's a great crop. I love corn. I think it's yummy. But
But it's great. It's hugely subsidized in this country, and it would be nice to see. Not that hemp needs. I mean, it needs a little bit of a help at the beginning, but I think once it's rolling,
little boost once
it needs a
in a
boost.
while,
So it would be nice to start seeing, like, at least on the local level. Hey, I got 2 lobbyists in the group here, so so a project for you guys. To start getting some grant money going to the commercial side of things, not just to the, hey, how do we grow this plant? What plants do we grow? Now, what do we do with this plant?
Well, there's actually 3 bills going through right now. They're all about advanced industries, and it's one's a income tax credit, I believe, for investors. There's some grants and there's some other stuff, and we feel that under the definition of advanced industries, hemp actually fits nicely.
I think it does fit nicely.
And so, and so like that is a great opportunity to take advantage of. There's also there's also grant money out there from the Department of Economic development that has it's for rural areas. Like there's certain counties, they have these enterprise zone tax credits. So some of it's just like getting research, and there's plenty of like anyone wants information, you can definitely contact someone like Corky or myself and say, I need to know what kind of tax credits are available to me, and we'll know. We'll do the work. I need, and it's there. It's just a matter of finding it,
Now, what about crop insurance? Is that going to be part of the farm bill for anybody who's growing hemp? Do they get crop insurance?
No.
So is it going to be more like the deal that the marijuana industry is having
With
on
banking?
Exactly. You knew I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to play craps and Russian roulette or whatever with our crops and hope that, we have good seasons while we try to grow this hemp. And,
Well, hopefully that's something we can also solve with the R&D because, there's a private insurance available. And there's, a lot of our cannabis businesses are already privately insured, whether it's through Connoisseur, Lloyd's of London, or Progressive Insurance,
right.
whatever it is.
But they're paying higher rates.
They're paying a higher rate.
Much
Don't get me
higher
wrong. But there's definitely an opportunity there for private insurance for the hemp crops. Maybe that cost is carried by the processors and the producers and the manufacturers who probably have a little bit more access to capital in order to do that. But they need data. So where are they going to get this data? Well, from people doing the R&D, from people doing the growing. How does it grow in this kind of season, this kind of climate? Because insurance is all about the numbers.
Sure.
Where's the data points?
So
I need to know exactly in this kind of scenario what our risk is.
Totally
all that
true.
kind of stuff.
What are the actuary numbers?
Well, can they start basing those numbers, just out of curiosity, on Canadian numbers? I
don't know why not.
I would assume that we would actually have better yields since Canada's cold.
But I always thought the hemp was pretty hardy. And
it is.
The thing about so what if it got hit with a hailstorm one day? Mm-hmm. Give it a couple of weeks and it's back up to where it was again.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, but again, it's still not a bad idea to have insurance on it. It's just a very hardy plant.
Well, part of the insurance too, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think part of crop insurance on a federal level also carries the fact if you can't fulfill your your contract your yield to.
I don't know that that's in there.
Oh, it might be something like
it's more to
that.
natural damages. But that would be another kind of insurance thing. But that would be another type of thing. You call your insurance agent up and say, "Look, you got something to cover the difference if I can't get this done."
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, we have to go on our final break. When we get back, I do want to talk about tax revenue. To wrap up the Farm Bill conversation, look, it's a great thing that's happening. I think all of us want to see more out of it than it is. But you know what? Yeah. It's a huge
step.
Well, the most important aspect, and this is one like everyone's, federal, it's legal now. The most important thing, this is way actually more important, is the fact that now there's precedent for hemp being heard in an agricultural committee, which before it's always, anytime they've done an industrial hemp farming act, which is just any kind of, like the regular bill, that's what they call it, it's always gone to judiciary because it's controlled substance. Mm-hmm. And so now we have precedent. So now this industrial hemp farming act can be heard in ag, which is great.
Do you think hemp is going to be moved off of Schedule 1 before marijuana, or do you think it can happen at the same time?
It would have to happen at the same time.
No, they could separate them.
I think they could separate them.
I think it's going to happen at the same time.
I think so too. I think that movement is going on.
I do too. They're not going to,
But, at the very least, we all know marijuana should be off of it, but come on, really, hemp? It's not even. It shouldn't even be considered under any of the Controlled Substances Act whatsoever.
Well, the funny thing is, once it's processed, it's no longer considered a controlled substance, which is even funnier.
That is pretty funny, actually.
Yeah,
that's right, because we get to buy all that oil and all that food and health food stores.
Well, we import $400 million worth of hemp. We're the largest importer of hemp in the world.
People always talk about the market.
That's right. You said that in your stats when we did that program.
Yeah, people always talk about the market. Oh, there's no, it's great, but everyone always talks about, there's no market.
It's a $400 million market. And it's right now, it's a niche market at $400 million.
And I said, you have to also take into account that Americans were captains of industry, we're tinkerers, we're inventors, and unless people have their hands on the raw product, who knows what we can come up with?
Absolutely.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we have to go on a break. When we come back, we need to talk about Tax
revenue.
Woohoo.
Money, money, money.
Call Connoisseur at 1-800-420-5757 for all your insurance needs. Connoisseur understands the risks you face each day, and we are there to protect your business and your investment. Since 2010, Connoisseur has been serving the cannabis industry nationwide. Call Connoisseur at 1-800-420-5757 or visit us on the web at connoisseur.com to learn more about our insurance and risk management services. Proud member of the NCIA.
Cannapunch is a delicious and effective medical marijuana beverage proudly made right here in Colorado. Each bottle is freshly infused with 100% pure flower extract from the highest grade marijuana plants available today. Using proprietary extraction methods, every bottle of Cannapunch is consistently and reliably infused with an exact milligram dosage that you can count on to relieve your symptoms each and every time. Cannapunch is delicious. There's never any medicine-y taste. We use only 100% cannabis flowers. No trim or byproducts are ever used in Cannapunch. It does not require refrigeration and comes in convenient, resealable multi-dose bottles from 60 milligrams to 200 milligrams. We have drinks with dosage that works best for you. Cannapunch is available in a variety of delicious flavors like black cherry, watermelon, pineapple mango, and blue raspberry. And we now have strain-specific beverages available just for you. Cannapunch is delicious, convenient, consistent, and effective. Give it a try and experience the Cannapunch difference.
The National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
Harsh penalties for...
We're back.
No, we're back.
Yes, we are back. She didn't have her headphones on. She had no idea.
I didn't.
So we want to talk about tax revenue because here's the big news right now. All right, let's go over some quick numbers before we get into how much tax revenue has been earned so far. We've had now at the end of January, I believe 30 dispensaries or somewhere around 30 dispensaries were open for business by the end of January. There were only 13 opened on January.
13 or 14.
13 or 14
that
opened
hit the January 1 date.
That hit the January 1
ready
date.
To go.
So by the end of January, we were around about 30 dispensaries. It's been changing so fast.
Take into account how many of those probably ran out of product, or at least severely slowed down their product, and is now or probably now just back to medical.
They've been doing a very good job of actually maintaining. My understanding from most of the ones I've talked to, they've been doing a good job of maintaining a steady flow of product. What they do to make sure they have it every day is my friends over at Northern Lights, for example, would say, okay, once we hit this much in sales today, we cut off recreational sales. They did that for the first couple of weeks, and now they actually aren't doing that as much anymore.
Yeah.
Because they're now.
Well, it's starting to level out.
It's starting to level out.
Yeah.
But that many dispensaries, when there's 150 that have licenses that are in the approval process.
So these are your caveats right before we get to the number. I like it.
You like that? So really, we're talking about less than a fifth of the amount of dispensaries that are going to be open were open by the end of January, not even by the beginning of January. And how much tax revenue
and how many of them were limiting their supply of what they were
selling? Limiting their supply because they didn't have enough supply to serve as many people as they'd like to. So how much tax revenue has been earned in the first month of Prohibition?
$1 million and change.
$1 million and change.
That's just off the tax revenue.
That's just off the sales tax revenue, not the excise tax.
Excise tax is not. I don't know if it's been calculated yet. It's sort of built in.
I don't think it has yet.
It hasn't.
And it won't. They still have
Department of Revenue's got to collect it all, and then they got to get it all set up, and then they got to figure out what the heck, how to count it, and all.
Yeah, they got to go through the tracking of it and everything.
So they're still moving, but we're going to know. We'll know. We might know by the end of the month.
But the retail tax, the sales tax revenue is easy to track.
Yes.
$1 million. $1 million. So that means on that pace, we're talking about $12 million in this year in tax revenue, which is not even going to be. It's going to be way more than that because we're just getting this engine going. I mean, it's not even up on the top of the hill yet. It's still moving up.
That's true.
And you have to take into consideration the fact that this is only including the Denver market. Boulder still hasn't come online. Colorado Springs as
the second largest market hasn't come online.
The second largest market, Colorado Springs. I'm working on it, people. I'm working on it. Fort Collins still not online, and then your mountain towns, which are
There's a few
of them. But and that hopefully there was a lot of sales going on there for ski and tourism and stuff like that. But this is basically
just Denver.
Shouldering all this, and Edgewater. Mad props.
And Edgewater.
Mad props to
my hometown.
staying open till midnight in Edgewater. Woo, woo.
Yeah. That's Bud Med staying open till midnight.
Love Bud Med.
Yeah.
Bud Med's the greatest.
Yeah. They said we don't care.
The interesting thing about this is you heard about all the moratoriums up until this point. Mm-hmm. Oh, God, we don't want to do this. And I made a comment to a friend of mine, a colleague of mine. I said, look, guys, as soon as they find out how much money the ones that are allowing it to happen, Denver, Lakewood, all that stuff, everybody's going to drop their moratorium like a hot potato and go ahead. They'll control the number of people that can do it, but they want that tax revenue.
Well, and actually, Lakewood is still on a moratorium. So Lakewood
is Lakewood still?
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was over there. Okay.
Really, I mean, honestly, like Sam said, we're talking about Denver and Edgewater, a 1 square mile town that has 2 rec centers open right now. Greenworks will be coming on board, I think, in the next month in Edgewater, and then I believe New Age Medical will be coming on in, I think, next month or the month after that. Those are 4 dispensaries. And there's
North Glen's
North Glen is in. There's a couple of dispensaries.
Breckenridge, and then you're like smaller mountain towns, which probably only have like 1 or 2 dispensaries. I think Breck only has like 2.
Breck at one point, I have to keep up with. I think they had 4 at one point. They have 1 in the downtown area that's forced to be medical. They're not allowing the downtown one because they were worried about lines and traffic. Which I actually don't blame them for that. I get it. They weren't against that having recreational. They were just against what it would do.
Well,
to
they had other
the
things
downtown
to worry about. Yes. Was that going to affect tourism? Was that going to affect
in a good way?
No, it will. But we all know what you're trying to say is we got to maintain some integrity.
Absolutely. But I mean, look, $1 million is like scratching the surface of how much revenue is going to be made in this state on legal cannabis.
Well, they're trying to do a workaround on the kickback, Corky, right?
Oh, really?
Oh, these counties, they're running this local impact study. So it'll be this nice 17-person task force, definitely not bloated government, right? That would study the impact for the localities that have chosen not to opt in. So then they can, they've definitely stacked the cards in their favor with more opponents than proponents on the thing. And once those studies come out that say, "Oh, it's terrible, we need money," guess what? They're going to go after tax revenue. It was explicitly stated in the bill summary.
They're going to go after it while not having it in their particular municipality, but they want an override.
Well, and I agree. I think that's completely ridiculous. Look, if you're saying that you don't want to be a part of this, how can you get your hands in the cookie jar?
That'll be a huge public entity battle.
It will be.
Because the ones that have got it, there's no rhyme or reason for them to share it.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
And when you have your own public entity, and how many, what are we? We're all, what is it, state chartered, or we're chartered cities or something? Yeah. We're almost like little fiefdoms that the state really has very limited control over, and these guys can do almost anything they want to do under that home rule situation.
Is this a red county versus blue county kind of deal right now in Colorado?
It kind of is.
Do you think so?
I mean, it's being, the bill's coming from CCI. They're pushing it.
CCI.
And
CCIA.
Yeah, and they're obviously CML's not unhappy. They don't like it because
Sam Mamet's.
Could you please explain what CML is?
CML's the
Colorado Municipal League.
So they basically represent metro cities and then county. CCI is the counties.
Counties, right? Right.
Yeah, so more rural, and so that's gonna be a fun battle. I mean, honestly, listen.
Well, then we get to sprinkle in Club 20, and what's the other one? Club 22 or whatever it
15.
is. Yeah, and Progressive 15. Yeah, it'll all be good.
So I guess that's the question to pose. I mean, I know what my answer is. I'd love to see if you have anybody commenting on our comment box, but. If you decide to opt out of recreational cannabis, should you get any money for your county?
No.
And
I'm not opposed to a study as long as they also add in a economic impact positively. I want to see how much job creation is coming out of this, and not just the kind of job creation they want, which is adding more cops to the payroll. I want legitimate job creation.
But that brings up another point, Sam, because not only will they be looking at the tax revenue, but they'll be looking at other kind of ways to to
pad their budgets.
To pad that or cover it, saying, "Oh, we need 2 more cops. Oh, we need this." We got more goddamn cops than we need now to begin with.
Well,
it's it's asinine. Government has gone stupid.
I will say this. I love my town of Edgewater, my little 1 square mile town.
I can't tell you how much beer I've drank in Edgewater.
Edgewater
At the
Sloan's
Edgewater
Providence
Inn.
Tavern too is a good one.
I haven't done that.
At Edgewater Inn.
Trust me, I go all the way back to college.
Oh yeah, no, that's old school right there. And then they have the best Thai restaurant in Colorado.
Think about
is
it,
U.S.
and I
Thai.
heard.
They had
right
college
there.
that long ago?
Yeah, they did have college that long
ago.
Yeah. He had to take a horse and buggy to get there. But that's okay.
But we got there.
Yeah,
it was good beer.
Well, this 1 square mile town, they make no bones about the fact that the entire police force of cars, vehicles that they now have, they're all brand new, are all paid for by cannabis from medical side of revenue. So that's not even entering to the recreational
because
revenue.
of the people that they have in the mile square that's contributing.
Yeah, because of the 4 dispensaries that have been in.
There you go.
In
Look,
Edgewater.
it's helping the community.
Well, it is helping the community. It is one of those jokes that we make though, because it's such a small little town. These cops have the most updated police cars ever. Like they have the grills in the front that are like for like driving through brush and and all that. Like it's hysterical to see it. I'm like,
well,
God,
it's like
they have better vehicles than Denver Police Department does. It's insane to see.
Well, they're like tanks.
They are.
And they're
like
concerned
tanks.
about the safety of the citizens.
Well, and I will say this: we actually have an incredibly
frickin'
safe town. We do.
Tanks.
I did get pulled over.
They just wanted a pretty car, Corky, and showing it off. I like that.
Hey, I laugh about it. I actually got pulled over once in Edgewater for running a yellow light.
What?
No, I'm serious. I shit you not. I have to say that. I get pulled over from a cop, and he's like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And I was like, "Honestly, officer, I don't. Was I speeding?" He's like, "No, but you went through that yellow light." And I was like, "And?" He's like, "Well, you know what a yellow light's for, right?" I was like, "Caution and proceed with caution, blah blah blah." He's like, "Well, you were supposed to stop if you could have." And I was like, "Well, I couldn't have stopped without slamming on my brakes because it turned yellow 10 feet before I got to the line." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to let you go with a warning this time." I'm like, "You're warning me for going through a yellow light?" And part of me was like, "Okay, this is ridiculous. It's annoying." But at the same point, I was like, part of me was kind of like, that's all he has to do. I mean, he's got nothing better to do as a cop in my town because it's a very safe little town that they're just trying to find something.
How many police
are
on the force?
I'm not sure exactly how many police are on the force. I'm pretty sure there are more vehicles than how many police are ever working at any given time. Because you go by the little police station and there's a parking lot full of about 6 or 7 vehicles. And I don't think there's ever more than 2 to 3 vehicles that are like patrolling at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just funny to me. But like the whole point of the story is, look, cannabis has helped pay for a lot for this town.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing, and they recognize that, and so that's why they're embracing it. And they also said, "Look, we have a very safe community. It looks like Mayberry when you go down Main Street. You've been in Edgewater. It's just like it's a cute little
Used
town."
to play softball in a league there too.
Yeah.
That was another reason why I went to that.
Yeah, it's
establishment.
It's a great place to raise a kid. There's a lot of parents in their 30s with little babies running around, and they have literally nobody has any issue with the dispensaries whatsoever.
I want to move to Edgewater.
Yeah.
There's never anything for rent or sale.
That's because it's popular. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like the new Highlands of the Denver area.
Save me a spot.
Okay.
Next time something comes up, just save it.
I will let you know.
Go dibs.
I'll let you know.
Dibs for Samantha.
Dibs for Sam.
Dibs for Sam. But look, this is just like, I think, a microcosm of the rest of the state and what could be done with the money earned from cannabis for each municipality that does embrace it. I just think that they're a perfect example of it. But I think, again, Colorado Springs, which is greatly in debt, and they're now talking about doing a $400 million project. You've heard about this?
What is the City of Champions crap?
I just heard about this today, actually.
City of what?
The city of they want to create.
They want to call themselves the City of Champions.
They want to create
champions is more like it. Am I right?
Their budget is supposed to increase tourism. Their budget is based from this is all something I just heard today. So I might not be exactly accurate on this. So forgive me on this, but it's $400 million for this project to make themselves the City of Champions. They have these 4 huge buildings.
Is this a marketing project?
It's a marketing project, but what's interesting is the town doesn't want it. my experience, because I've lived in Colorado Springs, is that really the government in Colorado Springs is unbelievably corrupt and in the pockets of developers. And so there's a few developers who are friends of some of the city councilmen, and they're getting this $400 million contract, or pieces of this $400 million contract to create this. Fascinating to me when the city's in great debt, and the numbers have not proven that the $400 million that they would spend would actually come back in revenue to pay for it.
Colorado Springs can't even keep their lights on. They had to have cab drivers patrol their streets.
They couldn't keep the pools full.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They couldn't keep the street lights on.
Yeah.
They can't even water their parks.
Yeah.
How are you a champion
and yet they're vehemently opposed to recreational sales of marijuana. And even though that the people voted for it.
Barely. That's their excuse.
Barely, but let's be honest. It already exists there. The stores and the infrastructure is already there for cannabis, and now you're just talking about more revenue that the state that city could have.
Sure.
So instead of saying yes, let's bring in more revenue, they're instead saying no, let's spend money and give it to these, the few, basically.
Well, have you even been paying attention to the fight between the council and Bach down there too?
No.
Man,
I got enough on my plate to worry about.
This is definitely a time for another show. We could probably devote an entire show to Colorado Springs politics.
We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later.
It's fun little it's like licking frosting off a cupcake for me. It's just kind of fun, yeah.
Or an Oreo cookie.
What?
Nothing.
I'm saying it's just like a sweet little treat that means nothing, but it's
I get you.
Not enough for me to be involved, but I enjoy the taste. It's good.
We do have to end this. So, yes.
Darn
it's been fun. We ran over time. We started late, and we're running way over time now.
But whatever, we're awesome, so it's okay.
But, the phrase of the day now is like licking frosting off of a cupcake. I like that.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one.
Very good.
Oh, y'all, I'm a freaking genius. Right?
So, Corky Kyle of the Kyle Group.
That's right.
Yep.
Do you have a website?
www.thekylegroup.com.
And
I would like to let everybody know that come Wednesday there will be a brand new website.
Okay.
So you might want to wait for Wednesday or not. Just go into it right now.
We're still working on our.
But if you need a freedom fighter, Corky's your man.
All right.
Or me. I'm very good at freedom fighting.
Absolutely. She is.
All right. Well, until next time, thank you so much again, Corky.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me come on. It's
absolutely.
great.
We'd love to have you again. Until next time, peace, love, and
hempiness.